Just want to open with something real quick. Obviously, there's been a lot that's happened since I've been up here, and I just want to acknowledge Coach Dabes and all that he did for me. Just when I look back on everything, it's really special to come to a place where a coach genuinely cares about you and loves you, and you have that personal relationship on and off the field. So I just have all the respect in the world for him. I think he's an incredible offensive mind. He's done an amazing job developing up until this point. And this business is a beast, man. And give a shout out to Coach Shane as well. Unfortunately, we just weren't able to get enough wins for them. But at the same time, you got a lot of respect for them. And Coach Dabes, I don't, who knows if I'm here, so without him. So, I got all the respect and love for him. So with that, I'll open up with questions.
What was that like for you, just having to experience that? And you were obviously with the protocol.
Yeah, it's hard. The protocol?
No, not the protocol, but you were in protocol when this happened and having been injured and things like that. Yeah,
it sucked. Like I said, I have a lot of love for Coach Dabes, and we're really close. So to kind of see it go down that way, especially my rookie year, was hard. So just trying to control what I can control, take the next steps, but wish we could have done more as players to get more wins for them.
As you said, a lot has happened since last time we spoke to you. Can you take us back to the Bears game and just what happened from the play you get hurt, then you come back in the game? Just like what happened there from your perspective?
Obviously, I just wasn't feeling too great. I thought honestly our medical staff did a really good job, because I wasn't in a good space to be out there, and obviously that game just sucked because we had control. Quite honestly, I felt like they could not stop me. They couldn't stop us as a team. So that one hurt for sure, and you wish plays like that wouldn't happen, and you can finish the game with your team.
Were you unconscious at all? It looked like when you hit the ground, you didn't even move for the ball.
I didn't feel like I was unconscious. Just didn't feel the same.
Did you learn anything from that whole experience? I mean, I know you obviously guys want to play, right? But did you learn? Is there anything you take from that and say maybe next time I got to do things a little different? Or
I mean, I don't really regret. I mean, the only thing about that play is the ball got knocked out of my hands, and when you're kind of lose control of the ball, you're not really thinking about bracing for the ground. When I watched the whole game, and it's kind of been a point of emphasis, going to each game of just being smarter with the hits that I take. And when I look back at the game, like there's not a hit where I'm like, dang, I shouldn't have taken that hit. To be honest, like I felt like I was making smart decisions. I didn't take really any unnecessary hits, and that was just a situation where you kind of lose control of your body when you fumble it, and you're not really bracing for the ground. But obviously, moving forward, I got to be more available for this team. So that's obviously on the forefront of my mind going forward.
Is that the lesson you're taking from it all? That like, hey, I think Jameis said, availability is the best ability. Like,
Yeah.
Is that sort of how you're applying it moving forward?
No, yeah, absolutely.
Jaxson, I know you're not a doctor, but by hearing what you're saying, it sounded like you feel like you got hurt by hitting the ground, the way your head hit the ground.
Yeah.
In terms of getting ready to play, and not trying to put everything in the past, but walking out here on the practice field, knowing you have a chance to now play, what's your mindset? What's your mind frame in terms of getting out there on Monday night?
Yeah, man, I'm ready. I've been waiting for it. Obviously these primetime games are ones that you have circled on your calendar. So excited to go out there, go compete at a high level, and do everything in my power to rally these guys, to put our team in the best situation. When the clock hits zero, that we're going to come out with a win.
What happened from your perspective last week, Jaxson? Because it seemed like Wednesday, Kafka said if everything goes well, you're going to play, and then it seemed like you took a lot of the first team reps, and then you didn't play.
That's a hard question because just for me, I feel like I can go, and I feel like I could go the week before too. But obviously there's protocols, and there's different tests that you have to pass, and our medical our medical team does a really good job of making sure that we meet all those requirements to be out there on the field. But it's been hard, man. Like I can't stand sitting on the sideline watching. But I just credit to those guys. Maybe in the moment I wasn't the happiest, but they're overlooking our health and our safety.
You mentioned being patient. I guess you mentioned how difficult that is, but just take us through that. How difficult is it just to kind of have to be like, you can't play when you want to, even though you have that drive, like, I feel ready, but how is that like for you to be patient and have to like wait until they clear you?
It's hard. I feel like every day goes by slower, and you're hoping and praying that you're going to go in and pass your test to make it. So I think I bit more nails off my fingers than I have in a long time being on the sideline watching. But it's definitely not fun to feel like you have no control over the outcome of the game, but you just try to be the best teammate that you can.
This is obviously the first concussion you're diagnosed with since you've been here. Have you had any in the past, college, high school?
No.
When it comes to the situation now, I mean, Dayball's gone, but Kafka's still here. What are you expecting it to be or has it been the 2 weeks similar to, everything that you got used to with Dayball?
Yeah, I mean, Cap's been in the system for, a few years now, so he understands it obviously like the back of his hand, and maybe there's a few little, tweaks that you have from just like preference as a coach may feel, but I think I have all the confidence in the world in Caf and thought he's just done a great job this whole year.
How's that relationship been? Obviously, you and Dable were close, you and Caf are close, but just kind of how has that relationship been close, and how has it been getting closer these last 2 weeks?
Yeah, obviously these last 2 weeks, it's just more and more communication. I think Caf is one of the best coordinators in the NFL. You can look at that, from a player perspective as well as, statistically and number-wise. I think he does a great job. So, as an offense, as a team, we have a ton of confidence in him that he's going to put us in the right situations to succeed.
Let's take 3 more.
I know. Obviously, in that last game, you said you were getting down. You thought you didn't think any of the hits were ones that were your fault, like you shouldn't have taken there. But do you look at it as a whole after seeing the totality of all 4 concussion checks in an 8-game stretch? You have to change anything with the way you play at all?
Yeah, well, the narrative's not necessarily accurate of 4 concussion checks. I was taken into the tent for 3 of those times for things that had nothing to do with my head, and that's just kind of they have their own operation of kind of how they handle things. So I'm still getting used to this game. I'm getting used to the speed of at this level. And in college, you can watch my tape. I very rarely slid. But this is a different beast. So for me, I got to be obviously a little bit more responsible when I'm in the open field. But I felt like quite honestly, I was getting better at it each and every week.
What were the other things?
Yeah.
What were those other things you were checked for, if not concussion? Because we were told you had cleared protocol.
What do you mean?
We get an alert. I'm pretty sure some of those we were told you went through concussion protocol just on the sidelines. We get an alert like in the media area.
Yeah, I mean they have. One time I'm just tired against the Chargers. The other one has, other things that have nothing to do with my head. So, they have their own formula of how they handle those things. But the narrative of me having 4 concussion checks because of something that happened with my head is not true.
Jaxson,
Last one.
You were in the locker room last week, and the scene becomes all too familiar for you guys. When you're around, you're not, you're talking to some of your guys, but you weren't in the game. What is that like, and how does that affect you as a competitor to go through what this team has gone through, especially the last 6 weeks, but really all season?
Yeah, the season so far has been tough because, our record could completely be flipped the other way, and everybody here is in a completely different state of mind. And, but, I've just come to realize that, in the NFL, if you don't make those crunch time, moment plays, then the other team does, you're going to lose. And it doesn't really matter how well you play up until the end of the game. So, at times, it honestly it doesn't even feel real because, you feel like you're in control of the entire game, and somehow things just don't work. That's just, the beauty of the sport is it could go one way, it could go the other way. And when you're playing at this level of competition, especially for me, I've come to realize that, it doesn't matter, how you play at all until, who scores last, who has the ball last, and who makes that, last crucial play at the end of the game.
How many times has your head been or have you been evaluated for a concussion then?
I don't know. It's a good question. I feel good though.